Assalamu alaikum. I am Rafiqul Islam, lecturer in English, Government Shamsullah College. Welcoming all to my online class organized by Government Shamsullah College. I hope you are all well by the grace of Almighty Allah and passing your time in the most suitable and useful ways. Because we all know that time once gone forever. You are the learners. You will have to fight the way, the situation you are facing nowadays. The situation, the havoc that we are now facing will one day go away. But the actions that you are doing today will remain for you to build your future career. Today, I will present before you one of the 12 grammatical items of class 11 and 12 of English second paper, that is transformation or changing of sentences. You all know that this question is usually set for the students in question number 5. Here the marks are 5. For each sentence you will get 1 mark. From a selected passage you will be given or you will be asked to answer 5 different sentences to transform. The passage will be selected and the sentences will be from different angles, and the sentences should be changed without changing their meanings. We all know that in changing the shape, the form of the sentence can be changed, will be changed, should be changed, but the meanings of the sentences will remain unchanged. Transformation or changing of sentences has a variety of uses in our day-to-day life. We all know English is not our mother tongue. English is a foreign language. Here several articles, several materials, several ingredients or topics have been included to sharpen, to whet the knowledge of the students on this language. This language is a technical language. Our total success will certainly depend on our proper utilization, proper practice of it. If we take regular practice, we will be able to have a fluency over this language, and by having a fluency over this language, we will certainly be able to write this language correctly, to understand and to speak this language correctly, as well as we will be able to comprehend the lectures that we are listening. However, transformation of sentences have several types. We have simple sentence, complex sentence and compound sentence. We also have voice, active, passive, rather than degrees, they are positive degree, comparative degree and superlative degree. We also have affirmative, interrogative, exclamatory, etc. Any type of question may be set for the students to answer. First of all, I would like to present before you about the ways to convert or change complex sentence into a simple sentence. Complex, simple and compound, these 3 types of sentences have been practiced among us for a long period of time. And complex sentence, what is complex sentence? What is simple sentence? What is compound sentence? These questions should be asked with a great importance for the learners, because if we don't know what is complex sentence, compound sentence and simple sentence, it will be quite impossible for us to transform or to change them into the guidelines according to the guidelines. Simple sentence is a sentence that contains a verb and a subject. It can also be said a simple sentence contains a subject and a predicate. A simple sentence contains a subject and a predicate. Complex sentence. Complex sentence is a sentence that contains an independent clause and one or more subordinate clause. Complex sentence is a sentence that includes a principal clause and one or more subordinate clause. Compound sentence is a sentence that contains more than one. More than one. Try to remember, try to understand me, try to follow me. Compound sentence is a sentence that contains more than one principal clause. Now the question may arise, what is clause? What is clause? This is oft-quoted word for the students. What is clause? Clause. Clause means a group of words. Clause means a group of words. Clause means a group of words having a subject and a predicate. Having a subject and a predicate. But working, try to remember, try to understand, working as a part of a complex and compound sentence. Clause, I repeat, clause means a group of words having a subject and a predicate. Having a subject and a predicate. But works as a part of a complex or compound sentence. Normally we all know that we have two types of clauses. How many types? Two types. We have two types of clauses. They are principal clause or main clause or independent clause. We can term it in several names. Principal clause, independent clause, main clause. And next comes subordinate clause, dependent clause. Principal clause is a clause that can stand alone in a sentence. A principal clause can be alone in a sentence to express, to clear its meaning. Without taking any help of other clauses, a principal clause can express its meaning. The qualities, the characteristics that a sentence, a complete sentence, meaningful sentence possesses. An independent clause or principal clause possesses all those qualities. It can stand alone in a sentence. It can be used as a sentence. Without taking the help of other clauses, a principal clause or independent clause or main clause can express its meaning. Here, one point is very clear, and you should all bear this in your mind, that in changing or transformation, this main clause, principal clause or independent clause remain unchanged. To change sentences, this is one of the most vital characteristics, vital point that should be noted, that should be implanted in your mind with great emphasis, with great importance. What is that? The point is that the principal clause remain unchanged. The principal clause remain unchanged. The principal clause remain unchanged. However, as I said before, that a clause is a group of words having a subject and a predicate. Having a subject and a predicate works as a part of a complex and compound sentence. This clause is of two types: principal clause and subordinate clause. What is principal clause? Principal clause is a clause that contains a subject and a predicate and also is able to express its meaning, to clear its meaning without taking help of other clauses. It is independent, it is principal, it is main clause, and in changing this clause remain unchanged. In changing, you all know, we can find several clauses, and we will have to make changes only for the subordinate clauses without making any change, of the independent clause. And now I will discuss about the subordinate clause. The other name of subordinate clause is dependent clause. This name obviously presents before you about its character. What type of clause is dependent clause? Certainly you can guess it. You can guess the meaning of it. The dependent clause is dependent. It is unable. It is not capable at all to express its meaning. Its other name is supporting clause. Support. To support the principal clause is the main function, main work of the dependent clause. It has no power to capability to express the meaning of the sentences clearly. It can just only help the principal clause. Rather than it has nothing to do for a sentence. And here the definition should be clear among you. What does the subordinate clause mean? Like the principal clause, it will certainly possess, it will certainly contain, it will certainly include a subject and a predicate. So what makes the difference? A question may arise among you that a principal clause also contains a subject and a predicate, a subordinate clause also contains a subject and predicate. But the distinction, the difference is very clear. The principal clause is able to express its meaning. The subordinate clause is not able to express the meanings. Its only work is to help the principal clause. And the point that is to be noted here, that the student should be jot down, is that in changing sentences, various changes should be made on this subordinate clause. The changes should be made only on subordinate clause. By making changes, by eliminating, by converting a subordinate clause into a phrase, into a word, we can change a complex sentence, a compound sentence into a simple sentence. Likewise, we can also change a simple sentence into a complex and compound sentence by expanding, try to understand, by expanding, extending a word or a phrase, of a simple sentence into a clause. Can you understand me? I want to mean here, I want to make you understand one very important point, that whenever we will try to change a sentence into a simple or complex or compound, we should better emphasize on its formation, because we all know that in changing we will be able to change the forms. As I said before, changing means the change of formation, change of forms. It's all about changing the forms without changing the meaning. That is why whenever we will try to change a sentence into simple, complex and compound, it would be very easy for the students if they be able to understand, to capitalize the formation of these three different sentences, because in formation, in character, they are widely different. Because in a simple sentence, we all know that a simple sentence includes, possesses only a subject and a predicate. That's all. A compound sentence is a sentence that includes more than one principal clause. More than one principal clause. A complex sentence. Can you remember what is complex sentence? What is complex sentence? Obviously, there remains a difference between a complex and compound sentence. A compound sentence contains more than one principal clause, that means independent clause. But a complex sentence contains, in most cases, only one principal clause and more than one or more subordinate clauses. And this structure will certainly help you to go to our destination easily, very easily. To change a sentence into simple, we must try bearing in mind their formation, that here a subject and a predicate will be enough. It demands a subject and predicate. On the other hand, a compound sentence demands more than one principal clauses. A complex sentence contains one principal clause and one or more subordinate clauses. Here the question comes that to change sentences into compound, complex and simple clause, phrase are very important. We have to change a clause into a word by eliminating some part of it. On the other hand, to change a simple sentence into compound and complex sentence, we need to extend a word or a phrase into a clause. I hope you are following my lecture with rapt attention. Without 100% attention, it is not possible for you to understand it, because most of the students face difficulty in this question. Most students face difficulty in this topic of the grammar, although it is not so hard. If you be able to change sentences into different types of sentences, your writing in English, your power in speaking, your power in understanding will be quite easier. Well, now I will present before you some rules. Of changing sentences into simple, complex and compound. First of all, we will try to know to change complex sentence into a simple sentence. Although the other rules, all kinds of rules of changing are related with each other, if we be able to understand one kind of changes, the rules of other changes will be quite easier. That is why this class should be attended, should be listened with topmost priority. This class may be a milestone for you to understand this kind of question. Okay, how to change a complex sentence into a simple sentence? As we know before that a complex sentence contains a principal clause and one or more subordinate clause, and a simple sentence contains, can you remember? A simple sentence contains a subject and a predicate. Obviously, there remains some differences. The clause that a simple sentence contains is termed as independent clause. Is termed as independent clause. That means main clause. The clause of a simple sentence is termed as principal clause. Independent clause. Here we have a subject and predicate. On the other hand, what is complex sentence? Complex sentence contains a principal clause and one or more subordinate clause. And I have already told that as a complex sentence contains a principal clause and one or more subordinate clause, then can you remember in the beginning of my lecture I told you that to change sentences, we have to change the subordinate clause without making any change of principal clause. In complex sentence, as we have one principal clause and one or more subordinate clause, changes should be made. Changes should be made only on subordinate clause, keeping the principal clause unchanged. What is the most suitable way to change this sentence? We have to change the subordinate clause. How will we make this change? We have to change the subordinate clause into a word or a phrase by eliminating some part of it. By eliminating some part of it, we need to change the subordinate clause of the principal clause by eliminating some part of it. Maybe sometimes the subject, verb and the related other some words can be eliminated. And here one point attracts topmost priority here, that is the usage of non-finite verb. Non-finite verb plays a vital role in changing sentences. Can you guess what is non-finite verb? What is finite verb? Verb, as we know, is the most important part of a sentence. Verb has the controlling power of a sentence. Verb is called the soul, the heart. Centering the verb, the sentence expresses its meaning. And we obviously know that finite verb and non-finite verb is the part of it, most important part of it. Finite verb is a verb. Finite verb is a verb. Try to remember, try to understand, try to follow me. Finite verb is a verb that changes its form. Finite verb is a verb that changes its form according to the number and person of the subject. A finite verb changes its form. according to the number and person of the subject, as well as it has the power to express the meaning of the sentence clearly. Can you understand me? Finite verb is a verb that changes its form according to the number and person of the subject, and also is able to clear the meaning of the sentence. It also bears the meaning of the sentence. It bears complete meaning of a sentence. On the other hand, non-finite verb is just the opposite. Non-finite verb is just the opposite. Although we have a variety of uses of non-finite verb in our day-to-day life, this poses a great threat for many of the students also. We all know that this is not our native language. This language has certain rules and regulations. If we want to have communicative competence over this language, we need to learn the rules, the vocabulary of this language, the grammatical rules and the vocabulary. And next comes the uses, next comes the practices. English is a technical language, like the knowledge of computer. If you fail to use this language in your day-to-day life regularly, the thing that you are learning today will certainly forget tomorrow. That is why this language demands regular practice, regular exercise. Well, non-finite verb is a verb that remains unchanged. Its shape, its form does not depend on the number and person of the subject. It remains unchanged. If transformation or changing sentences needs the correct uses of non-finite verb. Non-finite verb does not change its form depending on the subject. It remains unchanged. But finite verb changes its form. We have three types of non-finite verbs. We have three types of non-finite verbs. They are gerund, participle and infinitive. If you look at your book, you will certainly find ample uses of participle to change a complex sentence into a simple sentence. You will get lots of practices, lots of examples to use gerund, and we also find lots of examples to use infinitive. If we know well about participle, gerund and infinitive, if we be able to know their uses to change a sentence into a simple, will be very easy. We also know that the use of participle is very great in this type of question. We have three types of participle: present participle, past participle and perfect participle. Present participle, past participle and perfect participle. Present participle is formed by adding ing with the base form of the verb. Present participle is formed adding ing with the base form of the verb. Past participle is formed. Past participle is formed making some change, making some change of the vowels within the verbs, and also adding d, ed, t, n, en, vice versa. And perfect participle is formed taking having at the beginning of it and making the past participle form of the verb. That means having plus past participle, having plus past participle of the verb is the formation of perfect participle. And in transformation or changing, we have the uses of present participle, past participle, perfect participle, gerund and infinitive. Suppose if we look at a sentence, when he saw me, when he saw me, he acted crazy. What kind of sentence is this? Obviously, it's a complex sentence. Obviously, it's a complex sentence. Here, when he saw me, when he saw me, this clause is a subordinate clause. This clause is dependent clause. On the other hand, he acted crazy. He acted crazy. He acted crazy. It's a principal clause. It's a principal clause. And to change this sentence, complex. This is a complex sentence. If we want to change this sentence into a simple one, we will certainly find the use of present participle. We will certainly find the present participle. As I said before, present participle is formed adding ing with the base form of the verb, and as we know that in changing, the principal clause undergoes no change. Principal clause undergoes no change, only subordinate clause undergoes changes. We can change, we can convert. We can convert the subordinate clause into a word or a phrase, into a word or a phrase to change it into a simple one. That is why we need to make the changes of this part, that is first part, first half of this sentence. First half, when he saw me, when he saw me, this part, this first part of the sentence should be changed, making this part unchanged, making this part unchanged. Okay, what kind of part should be made here? Here, saw is the verb. Saw is the verb, he is the subject, this clause, he is the subject. We know in a simple sentence there is no need to two subjects is prohibited here if the subject becomes similar. That is why we need to make a change of this part of the sentence. So we should make present participle of this verb. See, seeing, seeing me, seeing me. Can you follow me? Seeing me, he acted crazy. Seeing me, he acted crazy. This is simple sentence. This is simple sentence. Okay, I hope you are able to understand me, you are able to capitalize my class. As I said before, English is a language of practice. It's a foreign language. If you want to have a good command over this language, you will have to practice hard. It's a treasure also. It's a treasure also. That is why ample sufficient practice should be made over this language. I hope you will take my words for the betterment of your life, as it is the just beginning of your life. An important examination is waiting for you forwards. You should take all these things with topmost priority. With topmost priority. And wishing you good luck. I thanks all of you to join my class. Thank you.